Good evening, everyone. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. More California school districts adopting parental notification policies. The goal, they say, to strengthen relationships between staff, parents, and students. Then author says diversity, equity, and inclusion is purposefully amorphic. We hear more on why he says DEI evolves to find its way into different pockets of society. A U.S. Navy service member pleads guilty to spying for the Chinese Communist Party. He is being accused of sending sensitive information overseas. The Orange County School District adopts a new policy that broadens parental notification. NTV's Christina Corona has more on the update.
The Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District voted to adopt a parental notification policy Tuesday, which primarily addresses mental health concerns. This policy involves school counselors alerting a student's family when there is a reasonable belief that the student's actions pose a danger to their own and others' well-being.
It doesn't create new education code. It doesn't create or it doesn't cite new policy. What it does is codify in writing what is already in law regarding when parents or guardians should be notified. And it holds our staff responsible for adhering to those laws. With reports of depression and anxiety and suicide rates at an all-time high among public school students, action is needed to address this emerging crisis and support the health and welfare of district students. We have a great number of students that are facing many challenges coming out of the pandemic, and parents are our partners. And so whatever we can do to strengthen the relationship between staff and parents to support students, it's our responsibility to do so.
This also covers situations where a student seeks to transition genders, requests different pronouns, or experiences distress due to a mismatch between their gender expression and identity. And when asked if the policy would require teachers to inform parents if a student identifies as LGBTQ+.
Right? If there's a safety-related issue in that disclosure, depending on the scenario as a student talks about it, then they have an obligation to notify the parent. But if it does not present a clear and imminent danger to the student, then that information shared with the counselor is confidential by law.
Trustees Carrie Buck and Marilyn Anderson raised concerns about the policy's unclear language, especially regarding transgender students. They requested a second reading in November, but it was denied.
I don't believe this is a gender notification policy. This is a parental notification policy, and the spirit of it is when kids are in crisis, parents need to know that crisis. So this covers bullying, it covers mental health, depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, the extremes, but this is not addressing one particular issue.
The board voted 3-2 to approve the policy. The Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District has joined a handful of other California school districts in implementing policies mandating staff to notify parents when a student expresses transgender identity, requesting a name, pronoun change, and participation in sex-segregated activities that defer to their assigned birth sex. Christina Corona, NTD News, Orange County.
Why are some math and chemistry classes teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion? Now, an author says DEI is purposefully amorphic. It continues to evolve. The Epoch Times' Steve Ispas sits down with Kevin McGarry to hear about this growing ideology.
Kevin, welcome to our program.
Steve, thank you for having me.
There's governments, organizations, institutions that spend so much money to promote DEI heavily. Yet, there's lawsuits being filed for people who complain that the policies of DEI are not fair. What's your take on this?
Well, the DEI is it's sort of purposely amorphic. Amorphic meaning that it continues to evolve, and it has this sort of nebulous feeling about it where you can't really pin it down as to what it is, how it should be implemented, or what's the net impact that we should anticipate. there are some subjects that it just does not translate well to. I mean, chemistry, mathematics. These are things that a professor or teacher are supposed to be teaching, and they have a right answer and a wrong answer, top to bottom. Now, what some teachers and professors have decided to do are really ease the standards, the academic standards, because they think that, well, we're not getting the level of participation and the level of academic excellence from, other ethnicities, black, brown, you name it.
Over the weekend, I actually read your book. This is like your sixth book, right?
Yeah.
And it's called DEI in 3D, the connection between Karl Marx, who of course is the founder of communism in modern times, and DEI. And what's going on there?
The real premise of the communist mindset as it relates to blacks, I'm not talking about others, but as it relates to blacks, is we can get these people are excellent at collective action because we can manipulate them to the point, get them agitated to the point that they get others in their community who are like-minded agitated to a point where we can start riots, we can start these collective actions across the city. They'll do that, and that's what they're doing.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
A U.S. Navy service member pleads guilty to federal charges. Petty Officer Thomas Zhao accused of conspiring with a Chinese intelligence officer. He admits to engaging in a corrupt scheme to collect and transmit sensitive U.S. military information in exchange for bribes. Entities caught to menace has the details.
Thomas Zhao worked at Ventura County Naval Base in Port Hueneme, California. There he was responsible for installing, repairing and servicing electrical equipment on U.S. military installations. Zhao has been in custody since his arrest on August 3rd. According to the August indictment against him, Zhao allegedly sent information to a Chinese intelligence officer posing as a maritime economic researcher between August 2021 and May 2023 in exchange for receiving nearly $15,000 in bribes, including operational plans for a major military exercise in the Indo-Pacific. According to prosecutors, Zhao took screenshots of operational orders of military training exercises and passed them to the intelligence officer. Zhao also stands accused of transmitting photos of blueprints and diagrams of a U.S. radar system stationed on a military base in Okinawa, Japan. He further admitted to using sophisticated encrypted communication methods to transmit the information, as well as destroying evidence and concealing his relationship with the intelligence officer. If convicted, Zhao could face up to 20 years in prison. Sentencing is scheduled for January 8, 2024. Cost Jimenez, NTD News.
As the legislation deadline approaches, the governor signed more bills into law. Let's take a look at some of them.
One of the many bills Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law on Tuesday is AB 1261, also known as the Immigrant Rights Act. It would protect illegal crime victims from deportation. The purpose of the bill is to encourage illegal immigrants who are victims of crime to report them without worrying they would be deported. Crimes include human trafficking, rape, torture, kidnapping, murder, and more. Newsom also signed laws to compel California's public university systems to return Native American remains and artifacts. This will require government entities to return artifacts like prayer sticks or wolf skins that have been used for ceremonies. But the state auditor found in recent years that many campuses have not done so due to a lack of funding or of clear protocols from chancellors' offices. There are now new laws around data privacy. Under the Delete Act, Californians can demand their personal data be deleted from all data brokers doing business in the state. Such companies usually collect information for marketing purposes. The new law builds upon existing protections that guarantees state residents the right to request data deletion, but requires people to make separate requests to every broker. The Delete Act directs the state's privacy agency to set up a portal where individuals can issue blanket data deletion requests to many or all data brokers at once. Newsom has until October 14th to act on any remaining bills at his desk.
California's mental health revolution. A new law sparks controversy and hope. NTD's Stephanie Sekal has more on how the newly signed California law aims to transform mental health care in the state.
A new California law signed by Governor Gavin Newsom aims to compel individuals suffering from untreated mental illness or addiction to seek help. The move is part of a broader effort to reform the state's mental health system and address its growing homelessness crisis. The law expands the definition of gravely disabled to include those unable to meet basic needs due to untreated mental illness or substance use. It is designed to make it easier for authorities to provide care to homeless individuals with mental illness or addiction. Governor Newsom is also proposing changes to the mental health system, including funding and treatment bed allocation.
For this ultimate decision, we're going to continue to build on the great and impactful, meaningful, incremental progress that we've been making. But this is a big idea. It's half a century overdue.
While supporters argue that the law will help those in need, opponents fear it could infringe on individuals' rights and be counterproductive. The law goes into effect in 2024 with an option for counties to delay until 2026. It offers local officials a tool to address the state's mental health challenges and homelessness crisis. Stephanie Sekal, NTD News, Los Angeles.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Shelters at the southern border are full. California Border Patrol now releasing thousands of illegal immigrants into the streets of San Diego. Starting today, Waymo brings autonomous cars to Southern California. Santa Monica will be the first city in the rollout. A solar eclipse for parts of North America this Saturday. Stay tuned to hear more on how and when to see this event. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. The largest U.S. city on the Mexican border struggles to keep up with the influx of illegal immigrants. Now the shelters are so full that Border Patrol are releasing people to the streets.
Over 5 years, San Diego developed a well-oiled system to shelter illegal immigrants. But that system has been tested like never before as U.S. Customs and Border Protection releases people to the streets of California's second largest city because shelters are full. Since September 13th, about 13,000 have been dropped off at transit stations, with about 500 more arriving daily.
Border Patrol is dropping off migrants that have been processed through their stations with court dates and reporting with immigration and customs enforcement at their final destination. So here we're receiving people that are ready to move on to apply for asylum in the court system and with immigration agencies and just need to get to their final destination.
Last week, after a community recreation center could no longer handle the flow of illegal immigrants, the Border Patrol resumed drop-offs at a transit center.
So here we are receiving asylum seekers that have been dropped off by Border Patrol in buses. Today we received about 400 in the morning and we expect to have a few hundred more in the afternoon. We have seen many from West African countries. We have also seen from China, Turkey, India, and the West African countries we have seen is Guinea, Senegal, Sudan, and Mauritania as well.
Aid groups blame a mix of circumstances for the shelter crunch: reduced government funding, CBP's practice of sending migrants from Texas and Arizona to be processed in San Diego, and a surge in illegal crossings. And just last week, President Joe Biden's administration advanced plans for a border wall in Texas' Rio Grande Valley and said they would resume deportation flights to Venezuela. CBP closed a major pedestrian border crossing from Tijuana, Mexico on September 14th and assigned more officials to process incoming migrants. The Department of Homeland Security said last month that it has given $790 million for migrant shelters this year and asked Congress for an additional $600 million. On a weekly basis, CBP San Diego reports a summary of what they have encountered at the border, Last week, they seized 200 pounds of cocaine and 125 pounds of methamphetamine, detained 18 human smuggling events, made 56 rescues, and apprehended more than 7,600 from 74 countries. Illegal crossings topped a daily average of more than 8,000 last month. People from dozens of countries, notably Venezuela, were drawn by prospects of jobs and safety.
$50,000 worth of merchandise stolen from a Gucci store. Surveillance footage shows bandits stealing from the store at a mall in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Surveillance footage shows two masked individuals rushing through the luxury retail store, pushing a man out of the way. Then 3 more rushes through before they take off with Gucci merchandise. San Jose police made the announcement on Tuesday that the incident occurred on October 5th at Westfield's Valley Fair Mall in San Jose, California. Police say thieves stole approximately $50,000 worth of purses and merchandise. A responding SJPD reserve officer detained one of the suspects, 27-year-old Sean Pruitt, who immediately resisted, then attacked the officer with punches. The officer, aided by mall security, was able to take the suspect into custody after a brief struggle. 2 stolen purses were recovered. SJPD said the suspect was a wanted fugitive from Nevada and had an active warrant for his arrest. He was booked into county jail. Investigators are asking the public for any information on this case. Detective Mendoza can be reached at 4395 at sanjoseca.gov or 408-277-4166. Individuals are eligible for a cash reward if the information leads to an arrest. In Santa Clara, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
Starting today, LA residents can experience self-driving cars. Waymo's first launch in Southern California will be in Santa Monica.
Waymo, an autonomous ride-hail service, is launching some of its first self-driving cars in Santa Monica on October 11th. Subsequent launches are planned for later this month across Los Angeles. A Waymo spokesperson told the Epoch Times that they really want to use this tour as an opportunity to discover how their autonomous ride-hailing services fit into Angelenos' lives. The San Francisco-based company has been operating its autonomous driving vehicles since 2016 and tested in 25 cities. Currently, it operates over 400 autonomous ride-hail cars in San Francisco and Phoenix. The fully electric vehicles operate similarly to Uber and Lyft, just without the driver. They are covered in cameras and sensors, and customers can unlock their doors directly from the app to begin their ride. Some critics allege that the new technology may pose a safety risk to passengers and others on the road, but the company says they have been conducting rigorous safety testing for years.
See the Ring of Fire. Parts of North America will experience a direct annular eclipse on October 14th. Here's what you need to know about viewing the event.
A small corner in Northern California will be in the path of the October 14th annular solar eclipse. During this type of event, the moon comes between the Earth and the Sun and blocks most of the light. The moon appears as a black dot surrounded by what's called a ring of fire. This Saturday, it will be visible from Goose Lake in California and Oregon and areas inside the Modoc National Forest. The San Francisco Exploratorium will also live stream the event on their website. Now, for those adventurous people who want the best in-person view, the Ring of Fire eclipse will pass above Mesa Verde National Park in southwest Colorado. The partial eclipse begins approximately at 9:11 a.m. local time. Maximum annularity occurs at 10:31 a.m. The stunning sight can only be viewed safely with the help of protective sunglasses. On the evenings of October 13th and 14th, NASA will host presentations at the Moorfield Amphitheater followed by 2 star parties. The park advises choosing your route in advance and preparing ample time for parking due to possible traffic. The campground and lodge within the park are currently sold out on reservations. Mesa Verde plans on having 3 viewing areas throughout the park. For more information, please visit nps.gov/meve/planyourvisit/eclipse.htm. The last time an annular eclipse was visible from Northern California was in 2012.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest Eclipse there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Ganjin World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.